be exactly what you want to be without all of the fear around you. We have to stand up together. Welcome everybody to another episode of The Chairman Project with me, your humble host, Jason Sisneros. And this week what we're going to be talking about is the R in ROI. ROI, for those of you who don't know what that means, it means return on investment. And the whole subject, the whole concept really is that when I'm talking to business owners, one of the concepts is I tell them, look, you are sitting on a Ferrari, but you're treating it like a beat up Honda, right? It's an asset. This thing that you have called your business is an asset. And we're going to talk about today why most business owners are leaving millions of dollars on the table by misunderstanding, not researching, not remembering. I think we all know, but not remembering that the R in ROI stands for return. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. First off, let me welcome everybody that's new to the show. I know this thing has been building. The replays on x.com are going crazy. We've got live audience that shows up every single Saturday from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we do this show. It's like a live radio show. I do 30 to 45 minutes worth of content, and then we talk about it with a group of real business owners that come up with their questions. They give comments on the content, give suggestions for future shows, and really have become a family. We're going to have a solid place for everybody to start gathering as this community continues to grow. But I want to welcome you to the community. Come in, meet everybody. And one of the premises that we like to live by is that we're doing business with each other. We're leaning on each other. We're having conversations with each other. We are sharing our wins with each other. We're sharing our challenges with each other. And this really is to take our SME family, small and mid-sized enterprises. That's what we're designated worldwide. It's to really start to gather us together so that we can gather our power of knowledge, of information, of sharing, but also our voices in a world where we're competing against corrupt governments and unethical, larger multinational businesses. It's really to give you an unfair advantage against your competition and against the pressures that we all come up against. I did a post on Facebook talking about those pressures this last week. And in that post, one of the things that got the most feedback was this letter R in ROI. So I wanted to talk about that this week, and we want to start out with the understanding, the knowledge, the core belief that wherever you are in your business, that you shift that core belief to the fact that you have an asset. Your business is an asset. A lot of us are like, well, that's my rent at the end of the month. That's my car payment. That's, blah, blah, blah. And it's very short term. And before I started recording here, we had a good kickoff conversation in the room live with the rest of the team. But we started talking about the idea that our businesses, there's really two levels, amateur versus professional. And if you want to be a professional in business, it really does just take this mind switch, this little light switch that goes off in the mind of the business owner to go, okay, instead of building a stream of cash, which it is, right? Instead of just building something that I need to get through this month and then we got to start all over next month, we got to start looking at it like it's an asset. And once you do that, you understand that you're going to set it up. If you're building an asset, you are measuring it. You have an end game to where you want to build that asset to. You're going to reverse engineer to where you are right now. By the way, knowing where you are right now is an incredible value. And so often we forget the assets that we have. We built out over the last 20 years in my consulting business, in my private equity firm, when I was buying companies and turning them around and holding them for cash flow, and then the consulting company that's been around. We we know that the quality of our lives is based on the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves. And so before we would ever take over a company, before I would ever buy one, before we ever work with one to help them turn around or to be acquired or to sell to a private equity firm or whatever it is, we got to start out with the assessment of where we are today. And we just recently went live. In fact, you're the first people that are going to be hearing about this on the live session. They were the first ones to hear about it. From the rest of the world, you are literally second in line now as you watch this show. But if you go to the letter B, the number 2, the letter X, system.com, B2X system, singular, B2Xsystem.com, there's an assessment that you can take that's built on those of you that have followed here know that when Anton J, my consulting company, comes in, it's about a $50,000 expense. We spend 3 days, my team spends 3 days breaking down the business, getting to know where they're at, breaking them back down to the start, installing built to exit systems in their business, and then rolling them forward. But the most important part of that process was and is and will always be this questionnaire. They're 20 years worth of fine-tuning the right questions to find out where you are. It's a free site. You can go there, find out where your business is. It gives you a lot of insights. And then you can also schedule a 30-minute call with one of our strategists as well. So I just wanted to throw that out. But let's get into the subject today as far as looking at your business as an investment, okay? And let's talk. I want to open that story with a really great story about Warren Buffett back in 1972, a year after I was born, by the way, a year after I was born. And I went through some research, and there's 4 or 5 different sites where I was able to put together the data for this show. But the most helpful was an author by the name of Jason Andrew. I guess Jasons are just great at putting these things together. But one of his shifts, right? One of his shifts in investment strategies was to start investing instead of doing what I've done my entire career, which is I look at businesses to acquire that are in a position to have great upside potential. And Charlie Munger, who's Buffett's partner, and they partnered around this time, he said, let's start looking into investing into good companies and companies that are well run and the acquisitions. We talk a lot about the fact that if you're going to be building your business, the minute you decide to become a professional business owner, going from amateur to professional, then one of the things that you want to do is start building your business to exit. That's the built to exit.biz philosophy, is that from right now, this moment in time, you're going to start building your business to exit. Whether you want to keep it forever, whether you want to pass it on to your children, whatever it is, if you're building to exit, your likelihood of you actually having an involuntary exit, which is failing, going out of business, running out of money, all of those scenarios that you're going to build to exit. And so all your strategies are going to be built around that, whether you do or you don't. But and the smartest buyers in the marketplace, obviously private equity firms. And so when you're building towards that, there's some things that we talked about in a couple of shows before. We'll continue to talk about them that you start to focus on, right? You start to focus on your relationship to your customer. You start to focus on the clarity and transparency of your books. You start to focus on you not being needed as a business owner. In other words, building a management team so that you can be acquired. And then a very meticulously planned out exit plan. Okay, those 4 areas are the areas that you need to work on your business and that we've worked on other businesses, my businesses. That's the process of improving those assets inside of your greater asset called your business. And I wanted to go through Buffett because he was in the process of buying businesses that were in trouble. They switched over their investment strategy to starting to buy companies that were well run, a long time standing brands, et cetera. And so one of his biggest acquisitions that is kind of mythical that I've studied, for many years, and that a lot of people study when they start to get to become professionals at business, was their acquisition of See's Candies. And the company's incremental investment was $32 million. and it is now valued. It's got a $1.35 billion of aggregated profits during the period of time when they bought it back in 1972 to now. And I want, just for purposes of what that really means, they had a revenue in 1972 of $31 million a year. Okay, the EBITDA, which is the number that is most often, there's about 11 different ways to value your business when you start to have conversations with people who want to buy your company, but EBITDA is the most common, so that's the one we talk about on the show the most. And they had an EBITDA of $4 million, $31 million a year in sales. They had a $4 million EBITDA. And I told you that magic starts to happen for your business when you get your EBITDA to about $5 million. Another show, another conversation for another day. But this price, what they wanted to sell the company for, was it was basically for almost 10 times EBIT on the acquisition price. And if you go to PE, the PE measurement, they paid about 12 times. That's really, really high for that company. But I wanted to go through some of the things that and I'm scrolling through the article right now. So are you a business owner that's looking to build your company into a machine that creates cash? I'm Jason Sisneros, chairman and founder of Anton J Global, a world-class business consulting company that has turned around, merged, or prepped for sale hundreds of companies just like yours. I'm best known as the architect when it comes to fixing and building companies across the globe. My experience comes from owning and exiting over 20 of my own companies successfully. It's that real-world experience that I've converted into the ultimate blueprint that has saved and grown my clients' businesses. If you're tired of getting bad advice, have bought all the books, all the coaching programs, and still aren't seeing the success that you were promised, it might be time to work with a team that has actual experience and a track record of success. Please scan the QR code or visit antonj.com to schedule your free 15-minute consultation to see if we can help you reach your outcomes. That's antonj.com, ANTONJAE.com. Because C's family owned it for 60 years before Warren Buffett came in and bought it. 60 years it took them to build that company to a place with $4 million EBIT. I'm going to, again, don't know the family, don't know the story, but I can tell you I've looked at enough companies to understand that the reason why that they only had a $4 million EBITDA was because they were not built to exit. Now, they did exit. They sold to Warren. He turned $32 million into $1.35 billion. Think about that delta for just a second. Right? We talked about the number $1 trillion. $1 trillion, $1 trillion is $30 million a day for 100 years. Now you break that back down, $1.35 billion, the delta between $30 million and $1 billion is enormous. And all he did was focus in. He bought a company that was not built to exit, and then he focused on the 4 areas that I talked to you about: relationship to customer, transparency of financials, putting in a management team, right? One of the first things that he did was he said, nobody that was running this company before is going to be involved in running it after we buy it, okay? He wanted to focus in on that area. And so increasing prices was the best lever to pull to boost profits at the time. If you can raise prices without reducing demand, all the additional revenue flows straight to your bottom line. Great lesson in that one sentence, okay? You cannot raise the price of your product unless the relationship to your customer and the quality of your product is high enough for people to pay that increased price, okay? So brand and positioning, okay? Brand and positioning. Upon taking ownership, Buffett penned an awesome letter to Charles Huggins. He's the employee that worked at C's that he elevated from working in it, and this is a great lesson, to the management position. And he penned this letter, and you can find it on the internet, the actual physical letter that he wrote to Charles Huggins. But he said, he said, offering his general advice on distribution. Okay, think about these terms: distribution, merchandising, marketing of the chocolates. And in his letter, Buffett cautioned Huggins never to sacrifice quality for profit. This means that you have to be really, really good. Whatever product or service that you are putting out into the world, you need to make sure that one of the areas of focus is the asset has got to be high quality. The product, the result that the falling in love with the outcome of your client, your ideal target client, you have to fall in love with it and be obsessed with it as an asset inside of the bigger asset called your business. He advised Huggins against rapid scaling. Okay, rapid scaling means this is such a beautiful article, because what I advise against is there's a lot of people out there teaching about business right now, and what they say is this word scale. Okay, we're going to scale your business, which means that they're going to rapidly increase sales. Okay, now if you don't have your finances in place, you don't have your operations in place, you're not built to exit, you don't have your assets in place, but the worst thing that you can do is flood your business with sales unless you're ready for it. Okay, unless you're building appropriately in all four areas, the core four: culture, operations, revenue, and exit. Okay, those are the four areas. We call it the core four at builttoexit.biz. CORE. Culture, operations, revenue, and exit. Those are the core four. Okay, but he advised Huggins against rapid scaling, recommending that the company continue to produce chocolates locally and in limited quantities. There's a certain mystique attached to products with geographical uniqueness, Buffett wrote, harping on the value of branding. Maybe grapes from one little 80-acre vineyard in France are really the best in the world, but I've always had a suspicion that 99% of it is telling, is in the telling, and about the 1% of it is in the drinking. Okay, so there's so many great lessons in the study of his acquisition of See's. Now be thinking about your business as I'm going through this. Think about your business and what you're doing. Rather than Buffett was deeply committed to protecting the See's candies brand. Do you have a brand? Do you know what it stands for? Have you gone through the branding process in your own company? He understood the key to this was telling a compelling story. Rather than aggressively scaling See's, Buffett preferred to keep the operation small and charge a premium for quality. He recognized three distinct advantages in See's. Strong built-in customer loyalty moat. What did we talk about in the four? We said relationship to customer. Okay, that's it. A strong built-in customer loyalty moat. That means that your product and your service is serving people better than your competition. It separates. It's not that hard, y'all, to go into your product and your service and go talk to customers that have used you in the past. Go talk to customers who have been disappointed. The greatest lessons you're ever going to learn in your business is by talking to business or users of your product or service who've been disappointed, and find out why were they disappointed. What were the lessons that you could learn there so that you can eliminate those in your own product or service. Okay? A relationship to customer is the only way that you're ever going to build to exit. Is that you have customers that use you over and over and over again and tell other people. Okay? Exceptional product quality that customers could accept price increases for. Okay? Minimal need for reinvestment in operational capital. So over the next decade, See's grew from 167 stores to 207. Extremely modest annual growth rate of about 2%. Similarly, the total volume of candy sold increased from 16.9 million to 24.7 million pounds, averaging a 4% annual growth rate. Despite this modest growth in volume, this is a magical sentence. Despite the modest growth in volume, overall sales and profitability saw significant increases, growing by 16 to 21% per year. That means that they got better at the operational structure of what they did. Sales went up a little bit, but profitability more than 5, 7, 8 times that self. And that's what you're looking for. Your business is meant to be a machine that creates cash. not a machine that creates stress, not a machine that creates uncertainty, not a machine that has to constantly be bringing in new customers that don't know how bad your product or service is, right? It's about building the machine. So let me get down here. So what are some of the key takeaways on this story? Okay. So aside from an overwhelming desire to sample C's candies for ourselves, what can we take away from this? The primary takeaway is the importance of investing in and developing companies with durable competitive advantages. Even in a niche product, maintaining a strong competitive advantage, customer loyalty is invaluable. Having the capacity to raise prices can significantly increase financial returns. Okay? Another important lesson is that slow growth isn't necessarily a problem. Personally, I wouldn't prefer slow, incremental growth over personally, and you've heard me say this, I'm just reading the other Jason's words right now. He says, personally, I would prefer slow, incremental growth over rapid and erratic expansion. And if you can allow compounding to take effect over 20 to 30 years, you see $30 million to $1.35 billion, y'all. Crazy, crazy number. Okay, so that's where I wanted to jump in and tell that story, because what they did was they bought an asset. They looked at it not like an undervalued asset, but they said, here's what, and this is all private equity firms are doing when they're going to buy your business. Number one, start telling yourself, my business can be bought. My business is for sale, right? Somebody is, the tagline for Built to Exit is everybody exits, how matters. You dictating it. There's involuntary where you go out of business. There's dictated where somebody else is dictating it because you don't know what you're doing. And then there's you dictating the terms and the timing of your own exit, right? You've got to start looking at your business like it is an asset that you will exit, because everybody exits. There is no way around it. Hi, my name is Jason Sisneros, founder and chairman of Anton J Global, a world-class business consulting company that has helped hundreds of clients and thousands of growth course students fix, scale, and successfully master their businesses. To put it simply, my team and I help people turn their businesses into machines that create cash. To better support startups and other mid-sized companies, my team and I developed a phenomenal and comprehensive digital growth course where I poured decades of business ownership and know-how into 20 hours of content. This course is not easy. It's not an easy pill, but it demands real work from you to implement the blueprints that I've developed. We know that reaching financial freedom is never easy, but totally worth it. Go to growthcourse.com right now to learn more about the course and get started on your business journey today. Because again, one of the main things that we all have to admit, we are not going to be on this earth forever. Okay, some of us want to extend that to 120 years or 140, and I know a lot of us are taking care of ourselves and our health-wise, but eventually this is going to be handed over to family, or something's going to happen, or whatever. You want to dictate that yourself. That's why it's called Built to Exit. That is you taking control and custom tailoring your business for your own exit. Whatever that means for you, that's up to you, okay? So just some other ones that I want to quickly go through, for next week, I've got a really great show put together for when you've come to that conclusion, the intellectually right conclusion to come to, which is you're building your business to exit. I'm going to give you a breakdown next week for you. I'm going to break down the ways that that your business gets bought, and some of the problems with this flood of people who used to be marketers, now they're acquisition kings and queens all of a sudden. It's just, it's really actually pretty pathetic. But we're going to talk about that next week in depth so that you understand the different ways to exit. Redefining your investment, your business into an investment, and start looking at it from an ROI perspective. Expense versus investment, okay? This is the R in the ROI that I wanted to talk about. When you are taking a valuable asset, now that you're a professional investor, you're a professional business owner, when you look at your business, when you start looking at the resource called money and time, when you take that money or that time and you are spending it, or are you investing it? Okay, if you're investing it, what you're going to do is take careful note of, okay, I'm going to put 6 hours into this thing, right? People that have done the built to exit system, there's 28 hours of how to build your business to exit. And you're going to go, I'm going to take that 28 hours and it's going to get me back 1,000 hours, right? It's going to take the money that I invested into that program, and I'm going to make, take the amount of money that I invested in it, and it's going to come back to me 10 times. You're intellectually measuring ahead of time the expected return, the R in ROI. What is the return going to be for the time I'm going to put into something or the money that I'm going to put into it, right? Back in my early days, I didn't think like that. I was like, oh, I want to have the fanciest computers, and I want to have the nicest building, and I want to have the greatest desks, and I want to do this, and I want to spend, and I want to have a boat, and I want to have this, all the stuff. It was spend. And that was why I went out of business once, involuntary exit, went out of business right behind that, domino effect. That was involuntary exit number 2, and then involuntary exit number 3. Then I was like, I don't want to play the game like that anymore. I don't want to play the game. I want to be a professional investor. I want to be able to do the things, and started switching. It was one of the conversations that I had with the amazing business owners that I had the opportunity to speak to while I was traveling as one of Tony Robbins' top speakers. I sat them down, I asked them these questions, and one of the very first light bulbs that went off for me was that my business was an investment, that I should look at every dollar, every asset, every decision that I made as an investment to get a return on, okay? And so the three pillars of investment are time, intellect, and money. Hone in. I talk about time and money a lot. Let's talk about the intellect. The intellect is what you're doing right now. You're actually watching a show that is going to raise your intellect about this game that you find yourself playing, right? The greatest group of people on the face of the planet, called SMEs, small and mid-sized enterprises, 0 employees to 499, right? You are in my family. We are family members. We need to support each other and build out. But using your intellect means that you're going to think about things, right? You start with b2xsystem.com. You find out where you're at, you figure out what your end game is, and then you start building that for your own custom tailored exit, right? So the 3 pillars of investment: time, intellect, money. This week, from this week's show to next week's show, I want you to take really close note on how you are investing your time, investing your money, investing your intellect. What are you doing? Sit down with a spouse, but sit down with your business partner, sit down with just you and a notepad, and look at the areas that you are spending or investing, and just write down spending or investing. Say, you know what, today I went on Instagram. I spent an hour on Instagram scrolling mindlessly. Today I spent an hour going through the Chairman Project podcast reviews, right? That kind of stuff. That was an investment into my business. Pay close attention to that over the next couple of days, right? Again, I'm going to harp on it just a little bit more. The amateur versus professional mindset. Are you a professional? Have you decided to become a professional, or are you an amateur? So here's the deal, okay? Your business is not your job. It is your wealth building vehicle. Your business is not your job. It is a wealth building vehicle. You must decide today that it's an asset that needs to be built. And inside of that asset are a whole bunch of other assets that are being built for the delight of your target audience on one side, and for the future owner of your business on the other, right? Every dollar you invest should have a clear path to ROI. The most expensive investment is the one that you don't make in yourself, okay? Constantly outsourcing responsibility, constantly outsourcing the responsibility for your business, it's costing you millions and millions of dollars. Just always think, I could be running, right now I'm running a $30 million business, and somebody else that knows what they're doing is gonna turn that into 1.35 billion, okay? Always be thinking about that, right? Always be thinking about that. And one of the questions that Keith Cunningham, who's the Real Rich Dad and the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books that you've all heard of, is that he said, he told me something that kept me up late at night for many, many weeks. He said, Jason, What if you had every dollar that you've ever lost making bad decisions? And it kept me up at night. And that's that delta between 30 million and 1.35 billion. Again, there's a word in our business, in the business community of small business owners and medium-sized company owners that I think demands more and more respect. It's called enough, right? Whatever your number is. I don't care what it is. It doesn't have to be $1 billion. Doesn't have to be $100 million. Doesn't even need to be $30 million. But it's whatever your number is. That number, you started to figure out where you're at and where you want to go. And whatever that number is, which is good enough for you, that's where you're headed, okay? And professionals invest before they're ready, and amateurs wait until they're ready. They think that there's going to be someday that it's the right amount of time for me to invest in building my business to exit. That's where the time goes. That's where the effort should go. That's where your thought processes should go. And that's why you're part of this community. So that's where I'm going to wrap it up today. Is your business is either appreciating or depreciating. There is no stasis in business. It's either appreciating asset or a depreciating asset. And you want to make sure you put the things in place to make it appreciating. There's no standing still, and the question is, are you treating it like a Ferrari or a Honda? The choice is yours, but the consequences are universal. The choice is yours, but the consequences are predictable and universal. Okay, so that's it for today. The R in ROI is return. It's return. Okay, so make sure that you're looking at everything that you do in those terms for this week to the next week on our show. Okay, make sure you take your game to the next level. I love you all very much. Thank you for being part of my community. Thank you for being part of my world. And I'm looking forward to, we're meeting so many people now that are calling in, that are doing the assessment, that are really engaging in becoming a part of this Built to Exit community. BuiltToExit.biz right now, it's gonna be launching into this new thing. It's already built, we just have to push the button, but for right now, you can go there, put in your email address, join us, or go to b2xsystem.com, do your assessment, get on the road, schedule something with one of our strategists, and looking forward to meeting you, high-fiving you, giving you a hug in the future. I'm Jason Sisneros, and we'll see you next week on The Chairman Project. Peace.